Nobody knows whether it exists. Its zealots are actively spreading the word of its advent. They firmly believe that when he arrives, the fires of the heavens will be extinguished. And all are rendered silent.
Hey everybody, today I've got a pretty cool Beastbox to take a look at, which is BB-44DP Deep Purple. This one is a very limited edition that just shipped 2 or 3 weeks ago, with an initial release of less than 100 figures. If it follows a pattern with Meltdown, which was released last summer, I would guess Deep Purple is probably going to see a broader retail release over the next few months or so. So this figure comes with quite a bit of extras in the box, and I'll walk you through that. We'll talk about character features, a transformation demo followed by a box grade, and I'll wrap it up with some final thoughts, so we'll get into it. Alright, we're just going to move some stuff out of the way here and take a look at the package. It's an interesting, one-of-a-kind design with the lid more or less emulating the top of Deep Purple's head. The inside has some interesting lore. Deep Purple. Nobody knows whether it exists or not, but its zealots are actively spreading the word about its advent. They firmly believe that when Deep Purple truly comes, all stars dim and everything quiets down. Well, I don't know what to say about that. It's epic to say the least. There's also this very cool custom logo, which is repeated on the box charger. So yeah, it's a whole theme with this character. It's kind of what I would consider 80s retro geometric neon. Coming around the side, here's a limited edition graphic, and on the back of the package, we have some interesting details. Apparently, Deep Purple was designed by Metal Command. As I recall, that design team hasn't done a whole lot with 5.2 toys. I believe they've also designed the Turtle Jetsam and the Wolf Firmhand, and that might be about it. Something I want to point out real quick is one other bit of inconsistency. On the back of Deep Purple's head, it says copyright 2020, right? However, on the actual package, the copyright is 2023. That technically doesn't do any harm, but for the sake of intellectual property rights, 5.2 Toys would probably be advised to be more consistent about that. More of the usual stuff included in the box. You've got instructions, a bunch of interesting print pieces, and a tear strip pouch, which includes a box charger insert, character card, some extra promos for other product lines, and a catalog. Let's take a quick look at this character card. Now here's something really interesting. I've been kind of harping on 5.2 Toys about the lack of a dash with the numeric designation on their character cards, where it's normally presented with a BB dash and the number for all other marketing presentations. On every other figure I've reviewed, the character card has not included a dash, and this is the first time I'm seeing it. It's a welcome improvement, and if it holds to be an ongoing format, hey, I applaud the consistency. So yeah, very cool artwork of Deep Purple. He looks extremely menacing. On the back, there's a repeat of what's inside the lid, which we already covered. And apparently this is a very formidable character. Top intelligence, strength, and courage. It's interesting. Moving on, this came with a transforming cartridge style stand, which is a 5.2 Toys original. It's kind of getting to be a trend with their bonus items where they transform into these proportions, which can be stacked up to 4 and stored inside a box charger. And just to show you what that looks like, I'm up to 3 of these cartridge style pieces, and they fit in there nicely. You've also got this little creature. I don't know what the hell you call this thing, but its name is Mother Brain. Maybe it's a parasite or literally Deep Purple's brain. Either way, it's an interesting counterpart. It also rides inside Deep Purple's cavity. And you got this very beautiful custom box charger. I love these neon graphics. It opens up like any other box charger, of course, and its neon paint reflects nicely under UV lighting. Moving on to the figure, we'll talk about this guy for a little bit. Overall, it's a pretty organic shape, and this one is one you have to wonder what kind of dark sorcery 5.2 Toys had to conjure to be able to get this thing to turn into a 2-inch cube. It's amazing engineering as always. Again, stylistically, it's what I would coin as 80s retro geometric neon. For me personally, it's kind of a throwback to my grade school years when Trapper Keepers were the shit. So if you're not familiar, it's basically a folder organization binder. And back in the day, they always included cool 80s style pop art on the covers, and seeing what kind of cool new designs they had when I was picking up school supplies in the fall was always something to look forward to. For all you kids that didn't grow up in the 80s, here's a little throwback. Let's talk about these insanely articulated limbs. This is where the engineering really went above and beyond what was probably necessary to make this thing work as an octopus. It has bending joints all throughout every limb, and it also has swiveling joints. They can bend forward and backwards, and I'll definitely have more of this to show off with photos towards the end of this video. Not only that, every limb has a 3mm port for almost limitless playability. You can add weapons to it, you can have it grappling other figures, or whatever you want to do. These limbs are even sturdy enough to hold up its weight, at least for now. It remains to be seen how much they might loosen up over time. Hopefully not too much. Let's touch on the color scheme. Starting with the base color, it is actually a deep purple, though it does look black under normal lighting conditions. If you shine a light directly on it, it calls out that subtle tone a little more clearly. Along with the neon paint applications, the medium purple plastic joints are also UV reflective, so Deep Purple kinda has this built-in magic trick. You've got silver components again, medium purple joints, neon green, blue, pink, and this halftone dot pattern on the tips of the limbs adds a nice touch. One unfortunate thing is my copy did come with a manufacturing error. The eyes apparently are supposed to have a painted green slit, and they completely missed the left side. Are you f***ing kidding me? Anyway, I did find some other manufacturing defects on the back panel piece. For some reason there are notches cut out of both sides that almost looks like it was carved out with a razor blade, and both cuts are uneven. And there are some other weird little blemishes here and there, like scratch marks right here, and a smooth spot where other parts of the plastic aren't the same texture, so an unusual amount of minor defects on this piece. Moving on to Mother Brain. I love these spiky little limbs. It has a pretty simple transformation. You just fold them up, they're going to rotate around like so, and then they fold inward. Same for the ones on the front. They just fold in, rotate around 180 degrees, and then they fold back. I'm not sure why, but it does have this little peg that folds down, which isn't necessary to have it right inside Deep Purple's cavity. And speaking of which, I'll show you what that looks like. You open up the back hatch, and this little post rotates out. And I'm going to be totally honest, this post doesn't hold into place very well. It's a pain in the ass to get Mother Brain plugged into it. This took way more time than it should have to get right, so this part is heavily edited for the sake of time. But once you get it on, it's totally secure. It sits right in that space, then you fold it back up, and you got yourself a little brain inside there. Unfortunately, mine is a little bit off-center. I've tried bending it slightly just to get it realigned, but it's set inside the cavity how it needs to be, so I guess you could consider this another minor defect. As far as its color scheme, it matches very well with Deep Purple with the exception of white accents on the brain and around the eye rims. That actually helps it stand out a little bit when it's right inside Deep Purple's cavity, and in my opinion, that's a smart color choice. One downside of this piece is it can't fit inside Deep Purple when it's in its box mode, so it doesn't have anywhere to go. Although to be fair, that's also true of a lot of other figure bonus items. Let's talk about the stand. It's an interesting little piece. It didn't come with instructions which might have helped to show off the different ways you can configure it, but overall it's really not that hard to figure out. There's a few things I want to point out. It has this little locking mechanism which to me seems very, very easy to lose. It's an interesting design. I kind of feel like it's a little bit over-engineered for what it is, but even so, it's pretty sturdy with some nice ratcheting joints. I won't be putting it to the test today, but I feel like it could hold a good deal of weight if you really need it to. Even without instructions, transformation is fairly simple. You can start by removing this piece on the back, rotating that up and out of the way, then you can rotate this piece up. This piece will need to come off because it's going to reattach and become the base of the stand. These pieces will rotate out. Something else I want to point out is its unusual plastic. There's nothing wrong with it, it just feels sort of greasy and it smudges really easily. This is also true for certain parts on Deep Purple and Mother Brain. Again, no instructions, so I'm just running with it. You can probably get kind of creative with what else you would attach to this. The joints are nice and firm, and I say over-engineered, but it does feel like a tough little piece of gear. You do have a peg hole on the bottom of Deep Purple, and that's where he's going to plug in. Pretty cool. Alright, let's keep this thing moving. We're going to get this guy transformed. The first and easiest step is pushing the eyes down into that socket. Then we'll get the legs into alignment to be prepared for the rest of the transformation. So basically, we're going to have them flat down against the body. You need to have these medium purple joints flush up against the center mass, and the rest of the tentacle 90 degrees from that position. The side tentacles will need to fold in half, so you'll take this long joint and fold it flush up against the smaller joint, about like that. And that'll be the same for all 4 side tentacles. They also have these interconnecting tabs, so you'll lock them together and they'll be lined up for upcoming steps. Essentially, you should be looking at about this shape. For the center section, we'll pop the top and then this piece will come off the back section. You can fold this piece down and get it out of the way. Now we're going to bring this section down, rotate it 180 degrees and fold it into that cavity like so, and it'll snap into place. The bottom section can be pushed out with your finger. What you'll need to do is fold the top hinge and not the bottom one, so this entire panel will basically fold in half. Now we can put the lid back on and it'll snap into place. And we can bring this piece back this way. Then we'll rotate this entire section 180 degrees. You'll want to make sure this piece hinges down, so you'll have these 2 pin joints parallel with each other, and then this piece will be straight in line. Bring the front tentacle straight forward. Underneath the body is this little locking tab, so we'll pop that out and that'll allow you to release these sections of the center mass. This entire center section actually rests on these hinges, so they're going to rotate out like so. Once they're in this position, you'll rotate them 180 degrees. Now you can bring this hinge back and out of the way. Then these two pieces can rotate forward just like so. You'll just want to make sure that you have them flush up against each other. So as long as you've got these pieces sandwiched together, you're pretty much good to go. The side tentacles will wrap around the sides. There's a tab here and a slot right here. That'll give you the hinge you need to conform this around this shape correctly. We'll bring this up and around, making sure to get that tab to connect. This joint is going to conform to the shape of the center section. And from there, the remaining two joints of the tentacle will fold straight up. And we'll repeat this process on the other side. In stating the obvious here, obviously this figure has a ton of moving parts, so things can go slightly out of alignment as you're working on the transformation. As long as you have the fundamental correct transformation for this figure, it's not hard to make slight adjustments as you go to get things back into place and you can keep moving with it. I don't think that makes this transformation fiddly, just that you need to be aware of the exact positioning of certain pieces, and you'll want to make sure you make adjustments if needed as you go. Now we'll put the lid down on this whole thing. This panel doesn't lock into anything, but it fits fine in this space. These back tentacles are a significantly different mechanical design from all the others. These large rotating joints are functional for its transformation. We'll rotate them 90 degrees to the side. So you got this little tab right here that's going to connect into that slot on this tentacle. Basically, you're just going to fold that piece up and it'll snap into place in that slot, and it locks in pretty securely. There's also this tab on the side which will lock together with the tip of this tentacle. So we'll rotate that around, fold it down, and it'll snap into place like so. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And you got yourself a box mode. This is an odd one. It's cool to see 5.2 Toys push the boundaries of what a 2-inch cube should look like, even if it's not one of my favorite box modes. You have this large border radius along this entire edge, and it's not a true cube, although it does look kind of cool. It's one of a kind, and it actually has a little bit of a bug face. And of course it fits right into its box charger. Now it's time to give this Harbinger of Doom a box grade. This is my rating system of 6 categories with 5 points possible for a total score of anything between 0 to 30 points. I love the lore they built around this figure. It's a great looking robotic octopus to begin with, and the dark purple with contrasting neon aesthetic is a very nice touch. 5 out of 5. Custom packaging comes with a lot of great stuff that really adds value to this figure's interactivity, brings the score to 5 out of 5. Here's where my own opinion is split. It's a very novel transformation, and I really like 5.2 Toys' willingness to defy convention by, well, thinking outside of the box. The box mode looks kinda cool, but I think it's slightly hampered by not leaving you anywhere to put the Mother Brain figure, and the large border radius around one edge does not feel like a true cube to me. 3 out of 5. Articulation is outstanding. It's literally everything you could hope for in a multi-limbed creature like an octopus, and 3mm ports on the tip of each limb gives you a lot of options for what you could do with it. 5 out of 5. Construction is decent. Paint applications look good, limbs are nice and sturdy, at least for now, though I do have to question how much they'll loosen up over time. Its visible blemishes on certain parts and a missing paint application on one of the eyes are quality control issues that can't be overlooked for a score of 2 out of 5. As an entire set, there's a lot to fiddle with, and you can have a lot of fun attaching this guy to different objects around your home or office, grappling with other figures, you name it. 5 out of 5. And that brings the box grade total to 25 out of 30. And there you have it. Deep Purple is a great figure. If you can get a hold of one of these, it's a really nice addition to any collection. Even though I did find some quality control issues, it's actually pretty well engineered and I'd still recommend it. My situation was probably completely unique. After some investigation, I can't find anyone else who got one of these with missing paint on either of its eyes. Do you own a Deep Purple? And what are some of your favorite limited edition Beastboxes? Let me know with a comment. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and if you can take a moment to help out this channel by leaving a like, comment, share, or subscribe if you haven't already, I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.